Hello and welcome to a bonus episode that I've decided to film because I've been asked a few times about projects that I have on the needles, and as I've just had a big ripping out session, which you will know if you watched the last episode, I frogged 10 projects earlier this week. I'm a bit of a mess because I didn't expect to be doing this today. And so I've got no makeup on. I haven't even brushed my hair. I'm just not very good at this presenting myself in a manner that suits the fact that people from all over the world might be looking at me, because I just forget about all of that. And I pretend I'm just talking to people I know. So anyway, Ewan's just gone to work and I thought, do you know what? I'll go and do it now. Today, you can probably see, I have the opposite problem to the one that I had when I filmed last week's episode when it was so dark. Today the sun is out and trying to shine in here. So now I'm trying to keep the light level down. I'm never satisfied, am I? Anyway, I have currently 30 projects on the needles. I'm not going to show you the blankets today. There are 11 blankets, but I thought I'll do a separate bonus blanket episode. Today I'm just going to whiz through the projects that I've got on the needles that aren't blankets. And I'm going to start. The sun's gone in now. Dare I open the blind? Here we go again. Blind wars. Right. I'm going to start with the project bags that I keep next to my chair in the living room for a couple of rows after dinner or when I'm watching television. I'm going to start with those. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some things, then pause, get some other things out. Otherwise, I'm going to create chaos in here. And I spent 3 days removing the state of chaos that I was in previously. So I don't want to make a mess. Okay, this is probably the longest running project that's been on my needles. And it got left, it got abandoned because I had to do a different project. And then I got a little bit fed up with knitting socks. So this is a pair of socks for my eldest son, Peter. I've picked them up again this week, in fact. I had the heels done on both. This one I've started the gusset, and this one I picked up, finished the gusset, knit the foot, and this is ready to have the toe put on. I've just changed the yarn for the toe. That's probably taken me 3 evenings, just a few rows each evening. So it's a shame that they've sat in a bag probably for the whole of this year. But yeah, these will hopefully soon be finished. It's just a vanilla pattern that I use for him to fit his measurements. My own pattern really. And the yarn is Cascade Heritage Prints in a colourway that you can't get anymore. I've had this for probably 2 or 3 years. It was bought to make him a pair of socks originally. And then when he went through my yarn stash at the beginning of the year, he actually chose it. So he is finally getting the yarn that was bought for him. So that's those. Oh, the heels and the toes are going to be Drops Fable. 113 is the colourway. I'm just going to briefly rush through everything. I'm not going to give you all the ins and outs. Otherwise, this is going to be like a million years long. So that's one pair of socks I have next to my chair. Any patterns that I mention, I will try and remember and link below. If you look below and the pattern's not there, just ask me and I'll add it. This is another pair of socks, but they probably don't look like socks you're used to seeing. These are going to be up to the knee socks for me. It's Free Pattern by Winnick Mum. I think they're just called 4-ply long socks or something. There's two versions in the pattern, a stocking stitch and ribbed. This pair, I'm trying the stocking stitch first. I have got the yarn for a ribbed pair as well, which, assuming that all my calculations for these work, I will cast on. I should probably have done it the other way round, because obviously ribbed socks are a little bit more forgiving, but I wanted to make sure that the calculations I'd made would work with the stocking stitch sock before I committed to knitting a knee length ribbed sock, because I don't really enjoy ribbing very much. So they are being knit 2 at a time on separate needles. And the yarn I'm using for these is Yarn Smith's Merino Sock in Thistle. The bag is a cosmetic bag from Temu, but it is the perfect size for getting 2 long socks into. This is a project that you have seen fairly recently. Let me pull it out through the gap there. This is the thermal cap, and I can't remember who it's by, but again, it'll be below. And I just do a couple of rows of this as and when. The yarn is from Kirsty, Wool and Wishes. She gifted me a skein of her own hand spun, and if I can ever spin yarn like this, I will consider my life to have been a success. At the moment, we are far from that. Let's not talk about the spinning. So, that's another favourite. And then in this bag, which is one that Dave made me, complete with a newly added, I'm calling it a bag charm. I think it was meant to be a key ring, but it's a bag charm, which was a gift from Denise at Dear Designs. I've got my Saltmarsh Cove tea. That was my birthday cast on last year, so this has been on the needles for over a year. And I just need to get on and finish it. But this again, I'm trying to do, even if I only manage 1 row every couple of days, at least it's getting worked on, and at least each time it's a row closer to being finished. So they're all the ones that I keep downstairs, some for pleasure and some out of duty. And to be fair, it's only really the Saltmarsh Cove that's out of duty, because it's sat on the needles for so long. These ones, as you can see, are next to my chair up here, and these are the ones that I'm working on currently. They're all new cast-ons. One of my bees has taken flight. These are the Bee Creative mitts. I won't go into too much depth about these because you will be seeing them again on the podcast. But I did realise, I'm ready to put the rib on now, and I did realise I have made a mistake. There should be 3 rows of the main colour down here before the colour work started as well. And I was too excited and I missed that part of the instruction. So I'm going to have to just make sure I do the other one the same. Overexcitement and foolishness. Again, this one you've seen very recently. These are my heel toe do-si-do Halloween socks, which, bearing in mind today is the 19th and I've knit this much since the 1st, not holding out a lot of hope on having these ready for Halloween. But as far as I'm concerned, Halloween is an all year round thing, so that's fine. They are in Hobie yarn. Again, I'm not going to go into all the... Heel toe do-si-do is a crazy sock lady pattern. It's one that I absolutely love and I've not had any success with. And I'm hoping this time will be the one that actually gets finished and fits. Okay, in this bag I have, this is a free pattern, and I think it's called Wide Ribbed DK Sock. Again, it'll be down below. And these are knit in some yarn from Lidl DK yarn. These knit up so quickly. I knit the leg and put in a new to me short row heel in about an hour and a half last night. I'd forgotten how quickly DK knits up. It's amazing. So that's both lots of next to my chair bags. Now I'm going to pause you while I get some other bags. Okay, in this bag is the yarn for a pressed flowers cardigan that I've recast on. This was something that I pulled down. It was a Sonnenstunden tee, and it's being recycled into a pressed flowers cardigan. But I only have this much to show you. Seriously underwhelming. I chose the dark brown to go with the other yarn. I'm not going to go into all the details. I keep telling myself that because I'll show you on the podcast. But what I neglected to consider was that knitting with dark brown is almost as bad as knitting with black, and I'm going to have to work on that this afternoon while the light is bright. Let's just go there. Old lady eyes have kicked in. They kicked in quite a long time ago, to be fair. Okay, that was a Diane from Utri Yarncraft bag. This is my much treasured Stitched by Mrs. D bag that I stalked her shop when I knew there was going to be an update. I kept pressing refresh until I managed to bag one. This is what's it called? Summer sorbet. I call it my autumn sorbet because of the colours. But this is being knit in my own hand dyed. It was a batch of Harvest, I think, that at the time was called the Year of Yarn, July 2023. And it came out wrongly. I was a bit heavy-handed with one of the colours, and you can see where there should just be a single stitch speckle. There's a little splodge, a run of colours. But I really liked it, so I kept it for myself. And this again is so close to being finished. I'm that far down the body. I think I measured it. I'm about 10.5 inches. And ideally I need 19 and then the rib. So I'm over halfway down the body. So again, I'm trying to make myself do a couple of rows on this every day. And again, there's a, what do they call it? Not a proverb, a saying. I'm just going to say a saying because I can't think and I'm trying to be quick. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So that's what I'm trying to do with this and the Saltmarsh Cove, is one bite at a time. I want the finished object. I just have got bored with knitting it. So if it's going to get done, I've got to actually work on it, haven't I? In this bag, which is from Candy Skull Crafts, I think. I said it quickly before I had a chance to talk myself out of that being what it's called. In here I have some DK mitts. This is the Zenith mitt. Can't remember who by again. And when you saw these last week on Wednesday, I was down there. So again, these have knit up really quickly. However, I have realised that I made a mistake just there. I don't know how well you can see. I zigged when I should have zagged, or I zagged when I should have zigged. But I can see it, but I couldn't see it when I was knitting it, so I'm not going to worry about it, and I'm certainly not pulling it all down to try and rectify it. I will live with it. They're only for me. Again, that's my own hand dyed, but it's a colourway I was playing with, so it never actually made it into production. This bag also contains some socks that were cast on last year. These are the colour palette socks. Let's see if I can get this out without losing all the needles. Again, can't remember who they're by. But I'm past the heel. I'm knitting these one at a time. I'm past the heel. And Cascade Heritage. Sorry, brain went completely blank. The orange is Cascade Heritage in pumpkin. The grey, which is micro striping very pleasingly, is one of my own colourways, Fade to Grey. And I really, really like these. I got fed up with socks and I put all my socks away. They've even got a twisted rib. That's how dedicated I was to knitting them. And just forgot about them really for a whole year. So I will get those finished. I'm kind of prioritising stuff that I've cast on. And next month I want to get started on some Christmas things. So I'm prioritising those. And then I'll get back to... Oh, the pattern's in there. Colour Palette Socks by Laurel Knits. There you go. Yeah, then I'll get back to clearing up what I've got. And what I'm hoping to do is... Caroline's going to hate me. At least finish one project before I cast on something new. But ideally, I'd like to finish 2 projects before I cast on one, to try and whittle down the amount that I've got on the needles. Because as you can see from this, there's things on my needles that have been there for over a year, and I've pretty much just forgotten that they're there. Okay, the other thing I did while I had my big sort out and rip out was I've changed bags around to, I don't know, spark a bit more interest in myself. So this bag, which was holding something that was frogged, is now holding a cardigan. It's a Sirdar cardigan. It's from the Sirdar Jewel Spun range. This is Sirdar Jewel Spun Yarn. I want to say Eventide. It's either called Eventide or Evergreen, and I know I get it wrong every time, but it's one or the other. I think it's Eventide, but it'll be down below anyway. So this again is a pretty simple knit. It would have been good to have it finished for this time of year, but I started it too late, and obviously it's not getting worked on at the moment. So maybe for this time next year that will be finished. That basket, by the way, came from TK Maxx last October. I've not managed to get in there this October to see what else they've got. Right, I had to peek in here because I've changed bags around. I had to peek in here to see what it was. This bag, which is an Emma Ball bag I bought at the Southern Wool Show last year, contains my Stephen West Treasure Trove wrap, which I haven't worked on for ages. I'm just starting to introduce the second colour. I think you can see where the colour's changing there. I love this pattern so much that I'm planning... one of the things I'd like to get cast on next month, but I don't know if I will get round to it, is I want to adapt this pattern to make a scarf. I'm not sure how well that's going to go because this is a wrap and it uses 500 grams. I would like to make a much narrower scarf using 240 grams because I want to use one of my gradient sets. So that's Treasure Trove Wrap by Stephen West. That was never going to get frogged because I love that. I find that so relaxing to knit. It just hasn't come out of my jar for such a long time. One of my neighbours is shouting. I don't know what he's shouting about. Okay. Another lovely bag from Diane at Yew Tree Yarncraft. This one contains, oddly enough, bearing in mind I was just talking about my gradient sets, this is a Woolseer shawl, and I'm knitting this with one of my gradient sets, Sunset Skies, I think, or Sunset Vibes. But yes, I really want that, so that didn't get frogged. I took that with me to the Southern Wool Show this year to work on, and I think I maybe did 2 rows. I did not get as much knitting done as I expected. This is another bag from Diane at Yew Tree Yarncraft, and this one was actually a gift from her when we met up at the Southern Wool Show. And in here I have a Painting Bricks shawl by Stephen West that I haven't touched again for months and months and months. And I kept it, although I've said, look, you know, I don't want to make any more shawls for a bit. I kept it because I love the colours so much. This olivey green, along with lime green, they are my 2 favourite greens. They couldn't get much more different. And the background colour, I don't know how well you can see it in this odd light. Let me pull out the thing. That just goes with it so beautifully, and that's my own hand dyed, but the green is West Yorkshire Spinners signature sock in cardamom. I've got a few balls of that because I just love it. So yeah, that was a definite keep because of the colours, really. And with most of my shawls, if I use them, I use them as a scarf rather than a shawl. Just in case you didn't know how a shawl worked, it works like this. There are 2 that I keep in here for when I'm zooming in the evenings and I get chilly, and there's one that I keep downstairs on the back of my chair for exactly the same thing. All the others I wear as scarves, if I wear them at all, and I'm not wearing them, which is why I've stopped knitting shawls for a bit. Apart from those 2, obviously. And I suppose the Treasure Trove Wrap, that would technically be a shawl, wouldn't it? Okay, this is a bag made for me by my friend Sarah, and it contains, again, an overwhelming amount of knitting. This will eventually be The Traveller Shell by Andrea Mowry, and the yarn is James Sbet in grey. What's it called? Colour SH53, and it is just a pale, solid pale grey. It's really nice. I like grey, but I don't like all greys. I like this is a nice clean crisp grey. I don't like, you get some sort of yellow toned greys that look a bit greasy. I know I'm odd, I'm sorry. In this bag is something that you did see fairly recently. This is another, it's meant to be a lunch bag from Temu, but it's just a little corduroy bag with a cotton lining. This contains something else that I'd like to get finished for the winter, if not for Christmas. And this is the Forest Fern cowl by Jennifer Steingass. And the yarn I'm using, the background colour was dyed by my friend Sarah, who made the Scully bag. And this is just some undyed, and I don't suppose you can see, it's got gold stellina. I don't think it's picking it up at all. Or maybe just there, you could just see a little sparkle there. Yeah, this one got put away after Christmas in July, and I've not worked on it since. And on it, I'm using as like a progress keeper, a little angel stitch marker that was given to me by Lynn Thomas, who is a viewer and who bumped into me at the Sodbury Yarn Over. So that is kind of a Christmassy cowl, so it's got a little Christmassy angel on it. And finally, out of this batch that all live in this enormous bag, is yet another bag from Diane at Yew Tree Yarn Craft. But this one I have embellished by putting on a patch. Knitting is indeed punk rock. And in here, another overwhelming amount of knitting on the outline tee by Jessie May Designs. I would quite like to get this finished by next summer. But again, it got cast on. I did the twisted ribbing. By then I'd had enough, and I think Christmas in July started, so I put it away and forgot I even had it. So that's that batch. There are 4 more to go. I'll grab those and I'll be back. Okay, these are the big bags. This one Dave made me for Christmas, and inside it, where can I put this down there, is another Stephen West design, and this is the bubble sweater, but I'm making it with short sleeves. And I cast this on in July for my friend Nancy's birthday. Nancy, who is Kitty Scrapper on Instagram and on YouTube, is one of my Zoomy friends, and she had a special birthday this year and requested that we cast on something black and neon. And I didn't need to be asked twice, quite frankly, because, you know, that's where my heart lies. So I cast this on. The black is Yarn Smith's DK, Create DK, I think it is, it just in black. And these, let's turn it around so you can see them all. These were a fade set that I was playing with that didn't come out quite as I wanted, so again didn't make it into the shop, but look really pretty in this tee. I don't think you can go wrong with neon and black. So that obviously was a keeper because it was my Nancy birthday cast on, and also I want the neon and the black. I think when I've got one of these two, either the Saltmarsh Cove or the Summer Sorbet off the needles, that will be the next one that goes into the eating an elephant a bite at a time system. Okay, in this bag this is actually a blanket, but it's different to all my other blankets. This I am learning to do Mosaic Crochet, and this is as much as I've done on the Meow. Is it by Rosina Payne? I think so, but it'll be linked down below. So this is Mosaic Crochet. Again, got put away because Christmas in July happened, I think. But anyway, I do want to get back to that. There's a blanket that I want to make for Dave, my husband. And it's beautiful, and it's Celtic knotwork, and it's mosaic crochet. But I wanted to try something small and simple to get my head around how it worked first. So that's kind of the purpose of that one. Plus I want it to put on the seat of my chair because Rocket has taken to sleeping on it and he's pulling threads in the blanket that's on here, which is hand knit wool. That does not make me very pleased with him, but he can't help it, he's got claws. In this one is another jewel spun Sirdar jewel spun. Why is that so hard for me? And I can't tell you what the pattern is called because I don't know. This is known as my people's friend cardigan, because that's where the pattern came from. An ancient copy, possibly 1980s, early 90s, of people's friend. So there's no name of the pattern on there. I've looked for the yarn that it was originally knit in and it's not made anymore, so I can't help you with this one, I'm afraid, which is a shame because it's relatively simple but very, very effective to look at. So that was staying because this yarn, like the other Sirdar jewel spun, is into its third project now, because I just kept looking for something that I was happy with it in, and that is, I love that, it's beautiful. And I think this is the last one. Cats. And in here is another project that's been hanging around all year. This will eventually be the Vodka Lemonade cardigan, and it's top down, obviously. So I have, actually I could model it for you, couldn't I? Oh, that's caught up on something. I've knit the collar. It has a collar. And not very much else. So I've got, let's just concentrate on one side, it'd be easier. I've got that much of it, which is not very much. And again, actually that's probably less. It's probably meant to be right up there. It's a little cropped cardigan and it's got 3/4 sleeves. And what attracted me to it was I liked the eyelets and the decoration on the shaping of the raglan. But on the back of the cardigan, down below the hem, there's a little square lace panel, and it literally is about that big. And it was just so unusual that I wanted to knit it. And I had this Highland Heathers, Starcraft Highland Heathers in Marmalade, which is the colour I love. But I have recently realised that colours like this that are too close to the colour of my hair wash me out a bit. So I probably should have pulled this down, but I really wanted it and I really love the colour, so I didn't. So yeah, again, that will probably end up being one that joins the bite at a time pile. Most of my big projects will do, I think, because I think we all do it. I know a lot of my friends do. You cast a pattern on and you get all the pleasure, the endorphins, if you like, of putting the pattern and the needles and the yarn together and casting it on, and then you've just got to knit it. And I am sometimes a process knitter and sometimes a product knitter, and sometimes I'm neither. I want to play with pretty colours, and that's where I fall down, I think. But yeah, so that is everything apart from blankets that I have on my needles currently. I have plans to cast on a couple of Christmas presents. I wasn't going to, but there are a couple of presents I want to cast on in November. There's a cowl I want to knit in November to wear to the wool show. And there's a short sleeved sweater, again, Christmassy, that I want to wear. So those will be my November knitting. Last year I did a shawl and I enjoyed it so much, in Christmas colours, and I enjoyed it so much that I said I think I'm going to do this every year. So every November I want to knit something for myself for December, Christmas, that sort of period. So this year it's going to be a short sleeved sweater and a cowl. Oh, and some mitts. There are some colourwork mitts that I want to knit for Christmas for myself, but they're really for Christmas. I don't need them finished before the yarn show. And then there's a couple of small projects that I want to knit for people for Christmas, and some socks that I want to knit. My list is growing as I'm talking to you. So I don't know what I'll do when I get to the end of October. Anything that's kind of autumn Halloween-y will probably just get put on the back burner while I do the Christmas stuff, and then I'll come back to it after Christmas, because as I've said, anything Halloween colour-y, I'm happy to wear that all year round. I don't care. So the other Halloween sock yarns that I've got put away, I'll either just cast on or I'll put them by for next year for Halloween. Because I spent most of a week rearranging and decluttering in here, and didn't get any knitting done at all on those days. Otherwise I'd be a lot further along with this month's knitting projects than I am. So I know that was a bit of a race, and I'm sorry, but I just wanted to run through everything quickly. I will do a separate one for my blankets, possibly next weekend, and show you all of those. Most of them are scrap blankets, so probably won't get worked on for quite some time. But again, I'm planning that next year I want to concentrate on a blanket at a time. And even if it's a scrap blanket, use up the scraps that I've got and then put it away again till I accumulate scraps to work on it again. So, and breathe. I'm going to go now and get this edited and up for you. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed a whistle-stop tour through my current whips. And I'll see you next week for a proper podcast. Bye guys.